let's talk about Euphoria, specifically Season 3, Episode 6, titled Stand Still and See. I have so many thoughts about this season and this show in general that I felt compelled to start this channel. So welcome to my first video. You could be my first subscriber or my first like if you're into this. And I'm dying to discuss, so please comment thoughts below and let me know if you want more. Let's get to it. Before we get into this episode, I want to talk about where we left off in Season 3, Episode 5. We were left on a cliffhanger with Rue buried up to her neck in the dirt, and Alamo riding toward her on a horse with a polo mallet. The question many people have been asking for the last week is Rue going to die? There has been strong foreshadowing for this moment. The entire season has had viewers worried for Rue's life, more so than any other season. Unlike the first two seasons, where Rue's greatest threat to life was her addiction and self-destructive tendencies, the danger here is external. In episode 1 of season 3, we see Rue eating dinner with Faye, Lori, and the crew, while a movie plays on TV in the background. Lori's cousin, Harley, makes a toast to Rue, who hasn't been caught or killed yet, and the camera pans across the table to the television where we see a man buried up to his neck in dirt. The camera cuts back to Rue, who watches him. Immediately after, a rat runs under the table. The symbolism of the rat here could be foreshadowing that Rue's role as an informant could lead to her demise. Now that that's out of the way, let's see where episode 6 takes us. Season 3, episode 6 opens in old-school Euphoria fashion with a cold open featuring Alamo Brown as a child living with his mother in what looks like the 70s. Alamo's mother, who remains unnamed, is getting dressed while explaining that she is going to introduce Alamo to a man who can take care of them. So Alamo should be on his best behavior because it doesn't matter if he loves her if he doesn't love Alamo. We get a sense that young Alamo loves and feels loved by his mother and that he trusts her. Enter Preston, the God-fearing man with a scarred face. Preston introduces himself to Alamo, compliments his handshake, and joins him on the couch where Alamo is watching what appears to be a film, but I haven't been able to find the source, so let me know if you have any idea. The two discernible pieces of dialogue we hear are, "I sold him on the whole idea, I made some big promises," and "damn it, now I'm gonna have to kill you too." My first thoughts upon seeing Preston was that he might be involved in some form of crime. Alamo's mother insinuated that he had a lot of money, and the scars on his face make him appear intimidating initially. But Preston sneaks a Hershey's bar to Alamo, and we quickly see that Preston is a kind man. Young Alamo observes his mother in a seemingly healthy relationship. He watches his mother holding Preston's hand in church as a tear rolls down her cheek, and omniscient Rue tells us that Alamo thanked God for bringing Preston into their lives. It's interesting to see that Alamo believed in God as a child. I don't know if it's officially confirmed one way or another, but I'm under the impression that he doesn't believe in God, considering how he reacted to hearing that Rue does have faith in episode 1. It could be significant that Alamo associates religion with Preston, his surrogate father figure, but we don't get too much insight into this. We learn that Preston has been waiting for a settlement due to a chemical factory accident that left his face scarred. Preston talks about sending Alamo to one of those white schools where he could wear a uniform and learn French. When the settlement does come, Preston showers Alamo's mother with gifts, redecorating their place, buying her Cartier jewelry. Over dinner, eating as a family, he asks her whether Alamo's new school mentioned anything about a uniform, and she says, no, but school doesn't start until September. This is the first concrete indicator that she may not be doing this for Alamo. We cut to Alamo playing with his cowboys while his mom talks to someone on the phone, disclosing the location of her Cartier jewelry in the red box in the middle drawer. Preston, Alamo, and his mother go to the beach for Labor Day, and Preston asks for Alamo's blessing to marry his mother. He says he wants to make up for the hard time with Alamo's daddy. Alamo seems truly happy, and the bond he has with Preston is really sweet. Nonetheless, the happiness is short-lived. When they get home, everything is gone. Alamo's mother takes Alamo, leaving Preston crying on his knees in the ransacked home, pleading, I can fix this. She tells him there's nothing to fix. Alamo doesn't understand why his mother is taking him to a new city until they arrive at a man's apartment and walk in to find all their stolen items. Omniscient Rue chimes in. Alamo realized it was all an act. None of it was real. He takes one of his cowboy figurines and goes to his new bedroom, laying on his cowboy-themed bed, brandishing a toy gun. Rue continues, it was just one long con, and the real mark wasn't even Preston. It was Alamo. He believed it. Alamo promised himself that never again would a woman outsmart him. Cue the title sequence. I really enjoyed this cold open. Return to form, getting insight into a character through a snippet of their childhood. I think it's part of what made the first season so special. The cold opens humanized the characters and grounded the story, which I think is sometimes lacking in this season. We don't get close enough to any one person to really explore any complex emotions. I think it has been especially important for Alamo, and I think I would have enjoyed having this context earlier in the season. He has felt strangely directionless as a character, despite having so much screen time. And this is not an acting issue, because the acting has always been stellar, and this season is no exception. It's just writing, and it goes for all the characters. Alamo is just at a disadvantage because this is our first season meeting him, so we don't have backstory. We say goodbye to young cowboy Alamo and cut to present-day Alamo riding a horse toward Rue's head, which is the only part of her sticking out of the ground. Rue desperately bargains as Alamo dismounts his horse and is about to swing a polo mallet at her head. This felt like a fun Heathers reference to me, which I enjoyed. Rue convinces Alamo to let her call FAYE to get his stolen items back. Rue gets through to FAYE, who has diarrhea from the laxatives the DEA replaced the Coke with. I would like to point out that this is not the first time this season that FAYE has had a scene involving defecating. I do understand that it forces the viewer to confront the unglamorous reality of this world, but it feels at times cheap or disgusting. Rue needs FAYE to take a picture of the key to the safe. What could possibly be causing FAYE's hesitation? We get the answer in a montage of FAYE and Wayne falling in love. Wayne says she shouldn't be a drug mule because she should be carrying fair-skinned babies in her belly, to which she says, that's my dream. He tattoos a swastika on her ass. This family is extremely disturbing. In every scene, they use extremely racist language, openly identifying as Nazis. While I believe that racism should be explored in media, I am not sure what Sam Levinson is trying to do here. The writing doesn't feel realistic or nuanced enough. Slurs are used very liberally without adding to the story. I think he's biting off more than he can chew, trying to tackle too many themes and address too many issues. This started off as a show about addiction and personal struggles, but the lens has zoomed so far out that it can't focus on one specific theme or even a handful of themes that could be fleshed out. There just isn't enough time to flesh everything out this season, so the inclusion of so much racism can feel careless and superficial instead of taking the time to explore how it actually affects any of the characters. When FAYE says no to Rue because Wayne is the love of her life, Rue resorts to telling FAYE that Fez would have helped her, but can't because FAYE's last boyfriend from season 2 is the reason he's in prison. Chloe Cherry's acting is incredibly moving here. We feel not her guilt, but something more like respect and loyalty to Fez, who always treated her like a person, more than any other character. Wayne comes home and gets angry with FAYE, asking who she was on the phone with. She lies and says her friend in prison, insinuating Fez, and Wayne becomes mad she's doing coke while he's trying to impregnate her, and asks if she's taking her prenatal, to which she confirms every day. FAYE tries explaining to Wayne that it wasn't actually coke, but he doesn't listen. FAYE's acting is great here. Wayne promises her a life where she can have everything she wants: money, designer clothes, and we see his keys fall on the bed as they start to kiss. We get a real sense that FAYE is trapped, voiceless. Her remembering Fez was truly heartbreaking and gave us the most insight we've ever had into who she is as a person. She is someone who is rarely treated with respect, rarely listened to, only valued for her body, and we see her play into this in order to survive. FAYE is a really interesting character to me. Cut to Alamo and his crew, Rue and Lori and her crew preparing to meet. We see Alamo kissing a gold bullet, Rue putting her bugged phone into her pocket, FAYE and Wayne saying goodbye and holding up love hearts to each other. FAYE is home alone now. We don't know if she's chosen loyalty to Wayne or to Rue and Fez. And today is the day of the meeting. Rue comes in to show Alamo a photograph of the key. FAYE did it. The DEA watches on with binoculars, and Lori's pickup truck pulls up to Alamo's, while Alamo's men prep their guns. The meeting begins, and Alamo's 3 guys come out with guns, trapping everyone in the room. It is very tense. The language is extremely racially charged. Rue takes her phone out, and Lori inquires about one of the many businesses Alamo owns, Gold Rush Medical Services. He says he takes girls down to Mexico for plastic surgery, dental work, etc., and uses ambulances and medical passes to get across the border. Lori says they're shutting down the border, so she needs Alamo to allow her to use his ambulances to smuggle 80 kilos worth of fentanyl into the US. She threatens to go to the FBI with evidence against him if he refuses, so he accepts, to which Lori responds, "Mama's got a brand new mule." The DEA says jackpot. There's an interesting piece of dialogue where Alamo asks Lori why she wants to sell a product that kills people. She asks why people want to buy a product that kills them. Supply and demand. This is exactly what I mean with the writing trying to bite off more than it can chew. This is much more in line with the initial themes of the show and would be delightful to explore further, but the show is unfocused and veering off in too many different directions. Lori wants Mitch and Rue to drive down, but Alamo says no, he'll pick his people. Lori says, "You don't trust Rue?" I can't tell whether Lori is surprised or not. Does she want to protect Rue, or get revenge on Rue for what happened with Paladin. What do you think? Alamo and Lori seal the deal with a spit handshake, during which Alamo aggressively pulls Lori into him. It's the first time I think I've seen Lori look afraid. He threatens her not to mess with him. Alamo then kicks them out and Rue puts her phone back in her pocket. Cut to Rue meeting with the DEA agents under a bridge at night. They tell her that these people will all get 30 years and Rue will be looked at favorably, telling her she did a good job, kid. We're almost there. Stay sharp. Rue thanks God, and the energy here made me fear for Rue's life more than ever. It really does feel like we're setting Rue up to not get the happy ending. Cut to a voiceover of Rue explaining that she tried to warn Maddy about Alamo. Maddy ignores the warning, asking why Rue would want to work for someone dangerous. We see Maddy working with Alamo's girls Kitty and Magic, and Cassie officially enters the Silver Slipper. So now, Rue, Maddy, and Cassie are all within Alamo's orbit. Maddy directs the girls, creating content and working on her laptop in a booth. Alamo comes to sit with her, and Bishop immediately joins on the other side, trapping her in the booth. Maddy introduces herself, and Bishop doesn't. Maddy suggests that Alamo give the girls some time off so she can introduce them around and grow their social media presence. Alamo does not like this idea, and Maddy seems to realize that Alamo may be more volatile or dangerous than she anticipated. Alamo asks why everyone is trying to fuck him and asks Bishop's opinion. Bishop says there are people trying to fuck him, but he doesn't know if Maddy Perez is one of them, to which Maddy gives a satisfied and appreciative smirk. Cut to Rue watching Jules paint in the penthouse apartment Jules' sugar daddy Ellis pays for. Rue is talking about how she wants a family, she wants kids. Jules says she doesn't know if Rue is ready for kids and asks how long she's been sober. Rue says she just wants good old-fashioned American problems. Jules says that's a fantasy. Rue says what Jules is doing is kind of a fantasy. Living in a penthouse, dating a married guy. Rue wants to wake up next to someone she loves and who loves her and who wants her to be the best version of herself. She thinks that's the solution because she has to live for something greater than herself. Rue is visibly emotional, and Jules is sort of smiling unempathetically. She says, "And you think we're gonna be that?" Rue moves closer and finally says, "I want to be with you." Jules says, "Where's our relationship? In your head?" Jules tells Rue that the last time they were together was a mistake that almost cost her her relationship. Rue says, "So this is your future now, to be hidden in this place." She calls Jules a toy who can't go anywhere and can't see anyone. Just stay here until Ellis comes back to use her. Jules slaps Rue across the face, causing Rue to fall off the stool and the painting to fall on top of her. She tells her to get the fuck out since Ellis will be here in 45 minutes. Rue crawls out and leaves. This is very sad. This is the first instance of domestic violence we see between Rue and Jules. And I think it's fantastic that it was included, since domestic violence in same-sex relationships is often underrepresented. I also think it perfectly falls in line with the writing we've had between these two characters since season 1. Cut to Cassie on set of LA Nights for her first scene with Dylan Reed. Lexi's bosses, the showrunner and director of LA Nights, immediately comment on Cassie's body, which upsets Lexi. Lexi has compared herself to Cassie since season 1, and I think it's good to see how this jealousy manifests now that they're women navigating careers. Cassie capitalizes off of her body, and Lexi uses feminism as a scapegoat for her resentment and jealousy. It's nice to see two very different women with the same trauma coming to terms with their femininity in very opposing ways. Dylan Reed has a line in the scene that includes the words, "The honeymoon is over," triggering Cassie to have a flashback of Nas saying the same words in episode 3 on her wedding night before Nate lost his toe for the first time. She begins crying and goes off script, talking about her relationship with Nate. The actor goes along with it, and Lexi's boss keeps the camera rolling as she finds it compelling. Cassie says maybe she deserved to get hit because she stole him from her best friend. In the next scene, we see Lexi and her two bosses sitting with Cassie over lunch. Tension builds between Cassie and Lexi, with Lexi challenging Cassie's claims about her acting experience and current career. Cassie claims to be a content creator, and Lexi specifies on OnlyFans. The discourse here is interesting. Lexi's boss says, "So you're a sex worker?" "No, I'm not a sex worker," Cassie claims. "I'm a performer that uses my body to tell stories." The showrunner asks, "So how does that affect you emotionally?" Cassie responds, "The hardest part is how people treat me, even my own family, but it's also very empowering." "Like a new kind of feminism?" the showrunner asks. "That's debatable," Lexi says. I am not defending Cassie's disregard for Lexi's feelings, well-being, and career. However, I think it's easy to fall into the binary of Cassie is bad and Lexi is good. I think it gets ignored that Lexi is an extremely flawed, bitter, and jealous character. All human, relatable emotions, but Lexi truly wishes for Cassie to fail as much as she wants herself to succeed. They offer Cassie a recurring role on the show on the condition that she delete her OnlyFans account and leave that world behind. The director and showrunner are proud of themselves for bringing families together. It's nice to see the framing at work, crafting a new way to sell Cassie as someone who needs to be saved. It takes the agency away from what she's done, absolves her of accountability, which is Lexi's worst nightmare. But it also strips Cassie of this newfound power that she has. Cassie and Lexi are walking on the lot afterwards, and Lexi asks Cassie, who is ecstatic at the prospect of being a household name, to tone it down. In response, Cassie screams even louder. In the next scene, we see Cassie alone in her apartment, dressed in lingerie. We get a lingering close-up shot of her crotch, which felt unnecessary. She walks dramatically and hesitantly toward her laptop to delete her OnlyFans account. She's clearly struggling to press the delete icon. She tries calling Nate, who doesn't answer, and eventually she works up the courage, deletes the account, and the result is completely anticlimactic. Lexi's boss offers Lexi the opportunity to write Cassie's storyline for LA Nights. She tells Lexi not to look surprised, act like she deserves it. Rue brings a picture of the key to a man called Alexander to have it 3D printed. She goes to a church while she waits for it to be made. This season is saturated with religious imagery, significantly more so than the first 2 seasons. While in a pew in church, Rue gets a call from Mom, and it's actually her mom, Leslie, who has not featured in previous episodes in season 3. During this scene, we only hear Rue's side of the conversation. She talks about how she believes in God because if he exists, then so does redemption. And if there's redemption, then there's salvation. She doesn't want to be stuck with the mistakes she's made. She wants to be free to start over. She starts crying. She wants to be forgiven. Rue says she misses her. She misses being home. She's going to come home soon. This feels like more foreshadowing that Rue's days are numbered. Suddenly, we cut to Leslie, who says, "I love you, Rue," and hangs up the phone. This felt very jarring to me. I didn't understand the purpose of omitting Leslie's voice on the other end of the phone and then suddenly including her for one line. Maybe it was meant to stress that Rue really is alone and disconnected, but I don't think it was successful in doing this if that was the goal. Let me know if you guys have any ideas, or let me know if you guys have any ideas about this choice. Next, we see Lexi talking to a friend about what to write for Cassie's storyline on LA Nights, and the friend suggests killing her off. Lexi asks how, and the friend says there are so many ways. Cut to Cassie signing for a delivery at her door. Is Cassie going to die? Have I been worrying about the wrong character? It really feels like a lot of lives are in danger this season, especially now that Maddy is getting closer to Alamo. Cassie opens the package, and inside is a note that says, "Answer the phone," and Nate's severed finger wearing his wedding ring. Cut to Nate stomping on the white fritillaries that have been delaying his construction plans. We see his bloody foot through a hole in his shoe. He screams homophobic slurs and general abuse at the endangered flowers as he crushes them with his feet. He continues until interrupted by one of Naz's men, who approaches and tackles him to the ground atop the flowers. Thankfully, this time we are spared an amputation. In this instance, I actually see the point of including the homophobic slurs. It's our first indication this season that Nate hasn't changed as much as it may seem. Nate had struggled intensely with internalized homophobia since season 1, so I think this scene shows us that it's still the root of his anger and issues. They aren't just flowers, they're gay flowers, and to Nate, that makes them bad. In the Silver Slipper, Rue joins Alamo and Bishop in a booth, where Rue learns Alamo expects her to carry out the robbery of Laurie's safe, that she needs to do whatever it takes. G, one of Alamo's men, played by Marshawn Lynch, approaches from behind carrying a dead rat, which he dangles in front of and then drops in front of Rue. The imagery here is extremely on the nose. In the penultimate scene of episode 6, Bishop and Rue go to feed the snake that we saw earlier in this episode wrapped around Cassie's body. We hear Cassie asking Maddy whether she's sure this is safe. This could be showing that Cassie is foolishly putting her trust in Maddy. Bishop tells Rue the story of the snake, that it belonged to a girl who used to work there named Sweet. Sweet loved the snake, fed it, slept in bed with it wrapped around her at night. One day, it stopped eating, so she took it to the vet, who declared it a perfectly healthy snake. He said the reason it wraps itself around her at night is because it's sizing her up, and the reason it stopped eating is because it's preparing for a much larger meal. Sweet told Alamo, and Bishop never heard him laugh harder. Alamo gave Sweet $10K for the snake, because it's a reminder. You never really know a motherfucker's true intentions. Bishop asks Rue if she's going to get inside that safe. She says yeah, and he says good. It'd be real awkward if I lied to your mother. Leslie, nice lady, told her how well you're doing. This is a direct threat. Rue will not be okay if this robbery fails. In my opinion, this is the most impactful scene in the episode. It ties in with the opening of Alamo's childhood, which I really enjoyed, giving us real insight into how his childhood experience shaped him and his perspective. This is how Alamo views people, like snakes. The final scene of the episode begins with Rue driving somewhere at night when her Bible audiobook CD starts skipping. While trying to fix it, she swerves into oncoming traffic, nearly colliding with a semi-truck. Instead, she swerves off the road and gets out of the car to find a tree burst into flames before her. She falls down to her knees. Again, Euphoria is presenting us with strong religious imagery. This is an obvious parallel to the story of Moses and the burning bush in the Bible. In this story, God tells Moses to go with him and free his people from the suffering and oppression in Egypt, and that God will be with him. Could this be a sign that Rue is destined to lead others out of oppression and suffering? Could her involvement with the authorities lead to the freedom of Alamo's girls, who are almost certainly being trafficked? This could be the case, considering we gained more insight into what Alamo uses ambulances for. The only ambulance we've seen in this season so far was when Rue dropped Angel off at the alleged rehab clinic, and an ambulance pulled up immediately after, signaling that something sketchy was happening. In a later episode, we were told that Angel escaped from rehab and would not be returning. Rue has all the information she needs to put the pieces together. She dropped Angel off, she saw the ambulance, she knows that Alamo is ruthless. Only time will tell if Rue will be a Moses-like savior figure. I'd love to hear what you think about this episode and this season so far. How do you think it compares to previous seasons? Do you think we're going to lose any major characters? If you made it this far, thank you so much. This is my first video, so I don't really know how it works, but I'd love you to come back, so subscribe so you can find me. Thanks for watching.